Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. In spite of the star shower and the rise of the new Warriors of Light, the Crystarium is still extremely active. It's so active that Morn actually leaves the Cabinet of Curiosity to come and thank you for telling everyone the truth about Ardbert and the other Warriors of Light. Being the bookworm that he is, he wants to write down your thoughts on everything that happened to add it to the information that they already have. Now, just like the Echo, the whole concept of Warrior of Light is something that you don't really know all that much about. So you decide to join Morn in the cabinet so you can find out a little more, especially when he says that Arbert's resurrection might not be all that strange after all. Alphinaud, Alysae, and Reen also show up at the cabinet, and although they were all there for their own reasons, they'd love to hear more about the Warriors of Light too. Morn is always happy to have people to talk to, so he dives into his lecture with a big smile on his face. Warriors of Light have appeared all throughout the history of the world. Some of them are names you've heard of, like Tiuna and Ramza. Before the Flood, the term Warrior of Light basically meant hero, but when the light became something to be afraid of, that changed. In the oldest stories of the Warrior of Light on Novrant, the land was shrouded in darkness when a hero showed up to save the world. Since he fought in the name of the light, he became known as the Warrior of Light. As time passed, others appeared with the same title, even though they had no connection to the original. Eventually, all of the greatest heroes got that title too. The same thing pretty much happened on the Source, as you well know. It's very likely all of those people had the Echo, and by hearing Hydaelyn's voice they ended up on their path. But the Echo doesn't necessarily make you a hero, or even a fighter, because one-on-one people like Thancred and Estinian can go toe-to-toe with any hero. And Thancred can't even use Ether, let alone the Echo. It makes Alysae wonder if the same was true on every shard, and it makes you realize that you're not all that special. While you're all chatting, a group of children who are also interested in the Warriors of Light knock over some books trying to get to you, something that does not make Morn happy since those books are extremely important to him. It seems like Rikitio, Arkil, and Errol do this kind of thing a lot because Morn knows them all by name. When they see you, they're all super excited and they want to know what it takes to become a Warrior of Light, and since it's so cute to see children wanting to do something productive with their time, you actually talk to them. Rikitio, the little Mikote, is the most interesting because she doesn't want to fight with swords. She wants to fight with potions and heal people. For the longest time, the dealings with her and her quest to become a potion-slinging healer made us all think that the next healer job would be some type of apothecary. But Square Enix trolled us all and made Sage, which has absolutely nothing to do with this little girl. Still, it was a peaceful experience. Teaching the kids how to fight will likely bear fruit sometime in the future, but there's only so much time you can take away from the important things, like getting the Scions back home, because the dizzy spells that had hit Thancred and Urianger before hit Alysae now, which means being separated from their bodies is starting to hurt them even worse. But instead of going to see how the Exarch is coming with the whole sending them back thing, you get the strange urge to head to the top of the Crystarium. What's even more weird is Elidibus shows up there, and he's confused because he only came because you called him. For the first time in a long time, the Echo hits you, and you see 13 ancient Ascians welcoming a 14th member to the convocation. The one speaking for the group says that sometimes this new member will be on their side, and sometimes not, all for the sake of guiding mankind and the planet in the direction they need to go, because this person is taking the seat of Elidibus, the emissary, and that's his duty. Elidibus can tell that you were looking into his memories, but he doesn't care now that he realizes you called him by accident. But since you have him there, you try again to find out what he's planning. He is basically doing what you've done over and over again, gathering weapons and leveling up, all to beat the final boss of the trial, which is you. He's doing all of this because you've killed his brothers and destroyed what they had worked to build. It's funny how you're angry at the Ascians for killing your friends, yet you've done the same thing to theirs. Elidibus sees you as the walking embodiment of death, and he plans on putting an end to you. Your death is what it will take to save the world, but he's not ready to fight you, yet. He did see your fight with Emmett Selk, and he seemed to recognize you, but Elidibus doesn't. He doesn't know if that's because he had never met you before the Sundering, or if that's just another piece of his memory that he's lost. While you and the Ascian talk, the Exarch shows up and Elidibus hits him with some spell that the Exarch more or less shrugs off. That catches Elidibus off guard because despite not having Hydaelyn's blessing, the Exarch's soul is dense. Elidibus leaves without saying more, yet while the Exarch didn't take damage from the Ascian's attack, he still looks a little ragged. He claims he did that damage to himself during his experiments. The more he uses the tower's power, the more his body turns into a crystal. It's not bothering him right now, but Bekluk still sent him away so he could rest. Probably because the Numo knew he was lying. The Exarch knows he's being a bit reckless with his health, and he has no intention of slowing down because he believes he's doing what it takes to save his friends. And with the Scions dying slowly, he's planning on being even more reckless in the future, so he wants to ask you a favor. Before he can say what he's thinking, Reen comes running up to give you some bad news. Thancred collapsed. When Reen and Alicey had come back from dealing with the children, Thancred was just coming back too. He'd followed Elidibus for a while, but he lost sight of him near the Crystarium. He was in the middle of telling them about his mission when he just passed out. He's in the hospital and Alphino's with him, so you all go to check on him. He's not all that happy to have people fawning over him, but he needed to be checked out because his condition had nothing to do with any physical injury. His ether is becoming more unstable, but Alphino did what he could to stabilize it. This isn't the first time he felt like he was going to pass out. That time when Eorzea had nearly drowned and he dove in the water to save him, he had felt the same way, and the lightheaded feeling had never left, but this is the first time he actually passed out, which means the link between his body and soul has gotten even weaker. So the Exarch wants you to head back to the source to let Kral know about your plan and see if she has any objections before you all move forward. While you do that, Thancred wants to keep working on the Elidibus problem because he learned something that could mean trouble. Everywhere he's gone, there have been sightings of strange people wearing all black, and when they show up, things go bad in the area. Monsters attack people, crops die, and stuff like that. These problems make Elidibus call for new warriors of light, which people rush to become to fight against these growing threats. Thancred thinks these people are Ascians, but he'll need to investigate this. Of course, Alicey and the other Scions are willing to help, after Thancred gets some rest. When you get back to the source, Tataru is freaking out because the Scions are not doing well. Kral's been struggling to keep them stable for the past few days, so the news of the spirit vessels being a means of bringing the Scions home is welcome. They look so lifeless on the source compared to how they are on the first, and the changes came all of a sudden. One minute they were doing well, then all of a sudden they just started to die. Even Matoya didn't know why. But Kral has managed to stabilize Thancred again, so that's something. But it really won't last, so she wants you to tell the Exarch to try whatever plan he has in mind as soon as possible. But if you need more information on the Alligans to help make sure things go smoothly, Kral does have someone she can go and see. While she goes off to meet her contact, Tataru whips up this bread called Archon Loaf that she wants you to take to the Scions on the first to both remind them of home and to help stabilize their ether a bit. The bread is a Sharlayan specialty, and although both Kral and Rambros, Kral's Allagan expert, say the bread tastes like boiled shoelaces, that's apparently exactly how it's supposed to taste. So, I guess it's good. I'm a picky eater, so there's no way I could eat something that is supposed to be disgusting, but that's just me, I guess. Unfortunately, Rambros can't help with the memory transference process, but he does want you to let G'raha know that they never doubted him. So with the disgusting yet incredibly healthy Sharlayan bread in tow, you head back to the first. The Exarch is excited to see the bread, but he'll eat it later because he needs a bit of prep time before he can make himself swallow the stuff. The Scions show up not long after you arrive, and Thancred confirms that there are Ascians all over the realm, but they are only the lower ranked black masked ones. The wannabe heroes from the Crystarium are out doing good deeds, but Thancred thinks it'll be best if you all deal with the Ascians fast. The Scions take the news of their dying bodies pretty well, but they do want to know if the spirit vessels are ready. They are, and after giving you an incredibly long explanation about how they solved the memory transference problem by crystallizing the Exarch's blood, Bekluk lets you know that the only thing left to do is test the things. However, everyone can see what all of this work is doing to the Exarch's arm, but he reminds Alicey that she said he couldn't die to save them, so he technically hasn't broken his word. The testing process will take a while, so you all can do what needs to be done about the Ascians while you wait. However, Alicey notices that there are 6 spirit vessels instead of 5. The Exarch plans on testing one on himself, and if it works, in theory, he could take his soul to the source. That process would be a little different from the Scion since he has a physical body that is not missing a soul. It's possible that their 2 souls will merge, or they could explode. There's no way to really know, but he's willing to risk it, so you all head out to let the Exarch and Beck Luke get back to work. The way the Exarch acted like he didn't know whether his soul would merge with his body on the source turns out to be a lie. Eorzea says that the man knows that the process will work. However, he's experienced an extra rejoining since he lived through the 8th calamity that you stopped, which will have altered his ether a bit, and that might make the merger difficult. But since you and Arbor merged successfully, Eorzea thinks the Exarch will be fine. Anyway, while the Exarch works, you all need to deal with Elidibus. However, since the Scions' bodies are breaking down, Thancred doesn't think Y'shtola should be left in the Uniter alone. So you go to check on her while the others go to deal with the Ascians. After you get her, you can all meet up at Yulmore. Before you head off, you hand them all some of the Archon loaf, which they're all excited about. For the taste of home, not the taste of the bread. Reen wants to try it too, but I think she's going to regret it. I think Eorzea is eager to see it because he makes sure that she gets a slice. When you get back to the Uniter, you find Y'shtola unconscious on the floor. You try to run to her, but Elidibus appears blocking your path. He wanted to talk to you alone, and he had nothing to do with Y'shtola's condition. He doesn't know why you're looking into the Ascians' past, but he doesn't think it will help you. Seeing him standing amongst the crystals causes the echo to kick in again, showing you a vision of Elidibus himself, being told that he needs to stop studying so much and go outside. But as you watch the memory, it fades, and you hear Elidibus start to wonder if his memories are fading because the world doesn't need him anymore. He pushes those thoughts away and focuses on the fact that he has to fulfill his duty. Even though he knows he has a job to do, he can't remember why he's working so hard to do it, or who he's even doing it for. Seeing you looking into his internal struggle seems to irritate Elidibus, so he teleports Y'shtola away. He'll give her back if you do what he asks. He wants you to show him how strong you are, and he's set up a place to test you. Since you don't really have a choice, you follow him. Ardbert teleports you back into Emmett Selk's Amarat, and because you have killed his friends and plan on destroying everything he holds dear, not to mention the fact that you've looked into his mind, he forces you to fight against versions of your friends. Since you act like a merciless killer, he didn't think slaughtering images of your friends would bother you since you casually kill people without worrying about how they are the loved ones of others. He forces you to fight your way through every major battle you've had, but he also makes you face every tragic loss. It seems like this entire exercise was meant to force you to dive into your own bad experiences since you kept diving into his. Regardless, reliving Final Fantasy XIV's greatest hits was a fun and traumatizing experience. What Elidibus is doing is trying to make you realize that the Ascians you have killed are to him what the people you have lost are to you, and he will never forgive you for taking them from him. Interestingly enough, he tries to make you fight a manifestation of Xenos, but he can't even make it do what he wants. So he finally decides to fight you himself to see how powerful you are. Elidibus is strong, but he realizes that one-on-one you are more than a match for him after all of the fighting you've done on the first and your merger with Ardbert. Not all that surprisingly, after the fight Y'shtola walks in since she's already freed herself, and she wants to talk to Elidibus about a theory she has. This theory of hers comes from the fact that she found out he's a primal. Zodiark was summoned to fulfill a single purpose, to save his people. Elidibus sacrificed himself to become Zodiark's heart, and even though he's separated from the god, he still has the desire to save his people. And that's why he went out of his way to make warriors of light out of the people. Since she figured it out, Elidibus admits that Y'shtola is right about him, and about the reason he not only made heroes but became one. Not only did that make him stronger, but it let him help his brothers with their passions like Emmett Selk's desire to build nations. But that's not what Y'shtola really wants to talk about. She wants to know if Elidibus can even remember how the world used to be, or if he even remembers his friends, because a primal's very being is made from the hope of the people who summoned it, and with so many souls being used to summon Zodiark, Y'shtola wants to know if Elidibus is doing what he does because he wants to, or because of all the different souls that make up the god. To him, that doesn't matter. The why is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is his duty, and with the power he currently has, he can't beat you. But he could easily kill your friends. With those ominous last words, the Ascian leaves. All things considered, Y'shtola is happy with how things went because, aside from the whole passing out part, she figured out Elidibus' goal, and she's eager to meet back up with the others considering Elidibus' threat. But while the Ascian did teleport her away from the Uniter, he had left her stuff, so she heads back to get it. While you wait for her, you notice a red crystal on the floor. Because no one taught the Warrior of Light not to pick up strange things she sees lying on the ground in cities filled with ghosts, she grabs it. It says some words, but they don't make much sense. However, you see more crystals, so you grab them too. They clearly hold memories, but without more of them, there's no way to know what they're talking about. You find more crystals, each talking with a different voice, all telling bits and pieces of a story that someone clearly wants you to hear. The crystals were recorded during the final days, and when you find the 13th one, Hythlodaeus finds you. He calls the crystals stars since each one has a constellation carved into them. Each was a symbol of a member of the Convocation of 14, and they hold information on the life of each of the members and the way the Unsundered remembered them. The crystals are meant to imbue the memories into Sundered Convocation members, so they could be returned to their office once they're reborn. It's what was done every time a fallen member of the Convocation was reborn. Since Eorzea is dead, Hythlodaeus doesn't think he'll mind if you keep the crystals. Even though he's only a manifestation of a long-dead Ascian, Hythlodaeus knows about your conflict with Elidibus, and surprisingly he'd rather you live because that's the only way you'll be able to keep your promise to Emmett and remember them. That doesn't mean he doesn't understand Elidibus' devotion to his duty. The man just can't remember his reasons for what he does. But Hythlodaeus didn't come to talk about Elidibus. He wants to talk about the member of the Convocation who left. Since she left her post, no crystal was made to commemorate her life. At least it wasn't supposed to be, but her friend made one in secret. It is marked with the name of her office as well as a spell she made. The 14th's office was different from the rest of the Convocation. While they stayed in Amarat, her job was to explore the world and learn about the different people. During her travels, she explored every land and made friends with a lot of different people. She solved problems that she could have handed over to the Convocation, but she preferred to team up with her friends to do it herself. Sound familiar? Because of her desire to have her allies near, she created a spell that could summon her friends to her side if she needed them. It's a power that belongs to you, since it was yours in the past, considering the fact that you were the 14th member of the Convocation. Returning your crystal to you was something that Hythlodaeus can't say whether it was his idea or something Eorzea programmed him to do, but now that it's back where it belongs, he vanishes. Y'shtola walks up right after the Ascian fades, and for some reason the Warrior of Light decides not to tell her what happened, or what you know about yourself. So instead the two of you head back to Eorzea to meet up with the others. Everyone else is already there, and they're more than a little shocked to hear that not only had Elidibus kidnapped Y'shtola, but he's a primal. Although it now makes sense why he would be working so hard to get people to have faith in the Warrior of Light. The more worship a primal gets, the more powerful it is. While you are fighting Elidibus, the Scions dealt with all the lesser Ascians, which was far easier than it should have been. The Ascians were obviously sent as a means of giving the weak heroes the confidence they needed to get stronger. It seems like something that's been practiced, which makes Thancred wonder just how many times the Ascians have done this. The people of Kalusia seem to be just as fascinated by the Warrior of Light as the people of the Crystarium, which makes sense since they're still trying to find a purpose in this new world. Which means Elidibus has all of Norvrant hearing his message, and is likely getting ready to make his move. Sure enough, another star shower appears over Eorzea, but this one comes with an illusion of Amarat too. Some people start to get the echo, but strange beings made entirely of light start to appear, preparing to remove darkness from the world by force. And that darkness is you and the Scions. The ghostly warriors of light spawn all throughout the city, coming out of the same magical rings the Exarch used in his summonings. It's unlikely that he's summoning them, but if his magic is being used, then getting back to the Crystarium is a must. Fortunately, Chinooz has an airship ready for you to take, so you all rush off to the ship so you can get back to the Crystarium as fast as possible, because clearly the friend of yours that Elidibus was talking about killing was the Exarch. And that's where we're going to stop for today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. And if you want to buy me a coffee for my work, sign up to become a member of the channel. Until next time, guys. Later.